You're watching The World. Welcome back. An Israeli strike has hit an elementary school in Manyab, a city in the Hormozgan province of southern Iran, killing dozens of people, according to state media, as the immediate civilian cost from Israel and the United States' huge bombardment of Iran comes into sharper focus. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency cited the judiciary of Manyab as saying that the death toll had risen to 85 after Saturday's strike on the school. Workers are continuing to clear wreckage from the site, where 63 others were injured on Saturday, said Iran's state-run news agency. And now IDF spokesperson Efi Defrin confirmed a broad, joint and co-coordinated operation to significantly strike the Iranian terror regime and its capabilities as the US and Israel attacked Iran today. He says it was an operation against a tangible threat that has emerged against Israel in recent months.
Shabbat Shalom. צה"ל וצבא ארצות הברית.
Shabbos Shalom. The IDF and the United States military have launched a broad, joint, and coordinated operation to significantly strike the Iranian terror regime and its capabilities. The regime constitutes a tangible existential threat to the state of Israel, the Middle East, and the entire world. A short time ago, dozens of Air Force fighter jets completed the opening strike, which included attacks on numerous targets belonging to the terror regime, among them military infrastructure, surface-to-surface missile, command and control targets, and more. This is an operation against a tangible threat that has emerged against us in recent months. We identified that the regime continues to advance offensive plans against the state of Israel, centering on the rehabilitation and accelerated production of ballistic missiles. This includes fortifying defenses, concealing the nuclear program, and continuing to formulate and advance the plan for the destruction of Israel. We carried out extensive planning and coordination processes together with our partners, conducted training exercises, and acted to advance readiness alongside strengthening defensive components across all sectors. Our policy is clear. We identify threats while they are still emerging. We will not allow the Iranian terror regime to arm itself, build its power, and pose a threat to the security of the state of Israel. Citizens of Israel, our defense systems are deployed and prepared, but the defense is not hermetic. I call upon you from here, listen to the IDF spokesperson's announcements and act according to the Home Front Command's updated instructions. They save lives. Your resilience constitutes a crucial component for us in managing this campaign. Even now, I ask of you, in the event of impacts, do not share locations and do not worry. The enemy monitors this footage to improve their accuracy. We will report and update you with any relevant information. Your discipline and responsibility are essential, for the sake of your safety and the safety of our forces. At this hour, the Chief of Staff, together with IDF commanders, is holding a situational assessment. All IDF arrays, together with the Southern, Northern, and Central Commands and the Home Front, are well prepared and deployed along the borders. Even at these hours, Air Force squadrons and pilots are striking across Iran. We are all with them and behind them. The operation will continue as long as necessary. I will continue to come up and update you on any developments later on.
Meanwhile, explosions and sirens have been heard as Israeli air defenses reportedly attempted to take down missiles over Tel Aviv on Saturday. US President Donald Trump confirmed major combat operations in Iran in a video posted on its Truth Social. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it was a joint operation to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps then reported the first wave of widespread missile and drone attacks against Israel was underway. Iran's foreign ministry stated history bears witness that Iranians have never bowed their heads to submission in foreign aggression. Well, joining me now from Washington, D.C.'s global affairs expert, Joy John. Let's touch down more on the joint U.S.-Israel combat against Iran, but this time from Israel's, perspective and the implications of this. Good to have you this weekend. Now, I know you woke up to a lot of news and it's been literally everywhere. So From Israel's perspective, is Israel's preemptive strike on Iran a legitimate exercise of self-defense, or does it set a dangerous precedent for regional stability as it's already doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Israel describes this as self-defense, but the implications go far beyond that. The bottom line is today's action has shattered completely what I would say would be 8 months of relative calmness in the region. And this raises, of course, profound questions about the consequences, or the extent of the consequences, and the challenges ahead. Now, what they're doing in trying to, target or eradicate the leadership of Ayatollah Khamenei, and of course, a key military infrastructure in the area, it means or implies that Israel is setting a very serious precedent for unilateral action. And in doing so, it will clearly, reshape perceptions of what nations could do or states could do, as you see, and influence behavior in the Middle East for years to come.
But how does Israel's action impact the delicate balance of power in the Middle East, and what are the implications for its relationships with Arab states?
Mhm. It's a critical moment for Israel's relationships with its neighbors within the region there, because over time we've seen Israel quietly coordinate on security with countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and through private channels with Saudi Arabia and Jordan on shared security concerns, particularly regarding Iran. These strikes would definitely put those relationships under pressure. The governments now have to work on managing the public rage with their citizens at home while, preserving their diplomatic channels. So it's a tense moment for them in the region.
But what are the moral consequences, Joy, of targeting Iranian military infrastructure, given the potential risks to civilian populations? A lot of people already gone as a result of this.
Mhm. Yes, the casualties are still mounting as we speak. And there are serious consequences on several levels. Even if the strikes, let's say, just focus precisely on military sites, civilians are inevitably affected. You look at displacement, casualties, and disruption of daily lives. And look at what happened at the school. A whole community gone. Nobody wins a war. J, at all. Nobody, no, there is no victory in the end. And as the tension rises there in the Middle East, I think the conditions will become worse. Look at places like Gaza, Sudan, and I just think it's most appalling that it's unfolding during the holiest month for Muslims and Christians as well, who are observing the season of Lent.
So, does Israel's strike on Iran's nuclear facility signal a shift in its strategy from containment to eradication? It's bizarre. Is this to deter, or this is to eliminate?
Yes, indeed. This goes well beyond containment. For years, Israel has relied on containment. Look at sanctions, diplomacy, and covert disruption. But this operation today, and that action, this combined action they took, just is an aggressive approach. And this aggressive approach, I think, was intentional to decisively weaken Iran's military and their nuclear capabilities. So they have, tried the other way over time, but now they're, switching to this mode.
So, how will Israel's action, Joy, how would it affect the prospects for a diplomatic solution to the conflict in the first place? And what role can international organizations play in the escalating tensions? I know that this conversation has gone on for 3 times, but it seems it failed, and I think Trump ran out of patience.
Well, diplomatic options are still open. They're still on the table, but efforts will be extremely challenging in the wake of these strikes. But to your question, yes, the United Nations and humanitarian agencies can still help facilitate communication, protect civilians, and create those channels to prevent further escalation and provide neutral space where necessary for dialogue between the conflicting parties. That is, where they're getting at this time. But yes, I wouldn't shut out diplomatic options. They're still available, but how or the extent is something we'll watch to see.
Well, fingers crossed. But what about Iran's retaliation? What would you say Is it justified that they are retaliating as we speak?
Listen, Olajay, absolutely, yes. From the perspective of stipulated international laws and sovereignty, Iran is entitled to defend its territory under the United Nations Charter and the principles outlined in the Vienna Convention. No nation will fold its hands and watch its citizen be destroyed. You know, Iran says the attacks are a defensive response on the strikes on its land and military infrastructure, and they have a right to retaliate in any way to whatever extent they are capable of doing. You can't fault them on this one because while there is tragic, civil harm, it should also be minimized, and that these are the steps that Iran is taking to minimize that civilian harm. Retaliation by any government in such a situation is legally and diplomatically grounded as an assertion of its right to protect its territory.
But one thing, I know that analysts are talking about is Israel's boldness. Is Israel's action a reflection of its confidence in its military capabilities or a sign of desperation in the face of existential threats?
So Israel, Israel seems delighted to show the strength of its military at any time, and which is highly, capable and able to carry out precise operations like we've just seen. But at the same time, the Israeli government is obviously concerned about Iran's growing influence in places like Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, as well as its expanding, missile and drone program. So indeed, yes, Israel can demonstrate its military strength. I think it is acting out of a real sense of caution and concern about its security environment. So it wants to cripple Iran now as its wings are growing.
And just in just 2 sentences, if you can, please, because I'd like to bring the EU in here. What are the implications of Israel's unilateral action for its relationship with Europe allies or European allies? And will it lead to increased diplomatic isolation?
So European government understands Israel's security concerns, but there is this increase in scrutiny over unilateral military action. There have been calls for restraint and accountability. Look at the UK, France, Germany. Spain has been actually more open and uncritical here, but these are all close allies. So while they may create this may create tension amongst its allies, I think that it will not likely lead to diplomatic isolation in this moment. I think it will much more depend on how Israel is able to navigate its, relationship with its partners in the weeks ahead. So yes, Israel definitely has or needs to have a careful diplomacy maintaining their relationships at this moment.
Thank you so much, Joy John, for joining us. She's a global affairs expert, had to touch on what is trending in the world